Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, cats and kittens, I have to make sure that my audio is going out. Welcome to the podcast. Thank you, thank you, thank you. This episode is brought to you by the Iowa Beard Company. It's not. I ran into the guy who owns it in an airport, and he's got a glorious beard, and they make beard oils and such. And I was like, well, I have a beard. I want beard oils. I bought one of his T-shirts. I just thought it was funny. Um, all right, so the Osmo Dilemma. This is gonna go over like just this is not gonna go over well, man. But the internet is it's open to everybody, so I'm allowed to have an opinion. We're an opinion editorial channel, so it just seems like we hit those wickets really really well. Um, we're talking the Osmo Dilemma today, and why the very mechanics of this are just long term doom for virtually the cosmos, man. It's going to be tough. Something will rise from the ashes of this, and it's not like it's going to tank, collapse overnight or anything like that. It was closed long time. You not. I'm sorry, long time ago, about 6 months ago, when it was like 23 cents. It's not going to happen overnight, but it's pretty indicative of what goes on out here and why I insulate myself from it as much as I can. And believe it or not, I'm not starting with Osmo. I don't have to. I can start with one of my favorite tokens of all time, Lavana, because this shows perfectly exactly what's going on over here. So we're looking at the Lavana chart. We're looking at the Lavana chart over the last 3 months. Now, Lavana itself, really, the token doesn't do anything. The perp dex it's not a bad perp dex, man. If you want to go swim in those waters, it's the UI is good, the UX is good. I'm not sure if they're going to be able to pay out really large leverages. I'd be careful with that. But aside from that, the smaller trades, 100, $200, something like that, 20x, in Bitcoin longs. Yeah, I mean, it does okay. But for some reason, they spun up a token. And it's a hyper really inflationary token, man. This is meaningless, by the way. The FDV. There's a total supply of a billion. There's only 38 million in circulation, so that FDV is irrelevant. The market cap's right. The trading volume seems a little sketchy because you basically churned 50% of everything that's out there, and it did nothing. So yeah, I'd be cautious of that. But uh, anyway, what this is my kind of like my benchmark because it's a perfect token to illustrate the point that I'm trying to make here. So this is last 3 months of Lavana. So you got a nice 30% of just absolute doom over there, and then you pull up Osmosis. And you look at Osmosis for the last 3 months, and Osmosis over the last 3 months is also 30% of doom. The beginning and end points, aside from a couple flips, that one right there was when suddenly it was Osmo was going to end up in the BlackRock ETF, and everybody got excited and they pumped that thing up, and then found out that's not going to happen, and then whoosh, down it goes. Now, uh, everything out here is kind of hurting right now because market sentiment is just really, really down. So I'm not singling them out. I'm just singling out Osmosis because virtually everything I own is tied to it. And the problem with that is that when you tie to it, you assume the costs of it due to the nature of decentralized exchanges and keeping pools balanced. So any token that is tied to this assumes some of the costs of this. Now, what do I mean by costs? Aside from dev salaries and inflation and all the other stuff that goes on with it, but one of the really really obvious costs, and for some reason we just simply don't talk about them. But one of the really really heavy costs out here are validators. Now you need validators to make the network work. I think as far as we have to protect it from the 51% attack, I think that's horseshit, man. That went out the window a long time ago, but we kind of stick with it. And I'm only going to spot one. So this one right here, this is obviously a likely, I don't know, somebody does, but it's likely a VC validator with 100% commission. That means all the tokens that they purchased way back when, they put them in, stick them up, and they farm the chain. So At 100%, nobody else is going to stake with them. It's just not going to happen because you're going to earn nothing. But let's take a real quick look and see what they're earning. And please forgive my gorilla math. I know people love to beat the hell out of me for this, but I again, just trying to illustrate something here. So they have 21,273,598 tokens staked on this particular validator. Now it's at APR of 14.42, so we're going to multiply that by 0.1442, and that's going to give us the yearly. We're going to divide that by 365, and that'll be the daily. Now these are tokens, and then we're going to multiply that by the price, and I think Osmo's at, we'll just call it 82. It's a little bit, yeah, 82.5. That's probably about right. So that is $6,933 per day, per day. That is going out to this one validator. $6,933 per day. Now, if we did that by a month, it's approximately $200,000 to $210,000. $200,000 to $210,000 from a single validator just going bye bye. $2.4 million annually. That's what's being pulled off from this to support that one validator. Now, if I broke it out by all of the validators, you're not going to like those numbers, but you know what? It is what it is, and we can't unring this bell now. It's happening, or it's already happened. So, with those are costs, and for some reason, we just ignore that. We just ignore costs because it's crypto, and crypto is not really business, meaning how much are you earning versus how much are you spending. So, when you start to break it down and you start to look at some of the bigger numbers, like what happens when everything really, really starts to slow down like it has been. And if you break it out over monthly, this is May so far. But when you take a look at it, what happens when the action really, really slows down is these things bleed tremendously, not a little bit, but they bleed a lot. And over the last 3 months, even with all of this action right here, that's the price. Over the last 3 months, over the same amount of time, it has bled off down from a high of $1.80 to currently sitting at 82.8. 80, yeah, okay, sure. Um, because regardless of the action on the decks, regardless of the trades, the swaps, regardless of any of this, the costs are still going out. The costs are still being paid. You're still paying devs. You're still paying a validator set. You're still paying for all of these things, and you simply do not have value capture enough to keep up. Not even close. That's a problem. And the big problem is that everybody who is paired up with Osmo is assuming a portion of these costs. And when you combine those with other L1 tokens that also have a validator set, and all you're doing is doubling down on costs with effectively no action. So the standard response to all this is, well, just wait for the bull. Guys, it already happened. All right, that already occurred. That occurred when Bitcoin went from 40 to 60. All right, that 40 to 70. I'm sorry, I forgot. I threw $10,000 off from Bitcoin. That already happened. All right, now what do you got? Now you still have runaway inflation. You still have a collapsing economy, a collapsing housing market. You still have all of these things, and ETFs that are now up here dominating and telling the market what it will or will not do. Bitcoin dominance is just peaked. So these smaller alt tokens, and believe it or not, that they're kind of falling into that now. But these smaller alt tokens are just going to get killed because they're not running with Bitcoin anymore. It's not even close. They've 100% separated. Now they have to stand on their own value, and it's simply not there. That tells me right there that it is simply not there. This is not me wildly speculating. All right, it's right there in front of you. Single piece of paper. That's your business model. How much do we earn and how much do we spend? But for some reason, we never ask those questions. But that tells me that you are spending a hell of a lot more than you are earning. So, what can you do about this? That's kind of where it comes down. We ran a personal experiment. I'm running a personal experiment. I'll show it to you right here. I am running my own little personal experiment, and it's in the form It's in the form of a silly meme token named Power Bottom. Now, I have most of the liquidity in this. I'm actually going to take it, lock it away in a multi-sig wallet so that I can never part with it. We're going to make it a fair meme token. But because I got in just a few days ago when Osmo was sitting at approximately 83 cents, about where it is right now, because it hasn't changed much in the last couple of days. And I've continued to buy my own token. My own money is going into this. It's pretty much all of my money. And we're actually broke away from it. We broke away from Osmo, even though that's the big pairing. There's another one over on Astrovault, and if you, by the way, if you want to play in this, I'd recommend doing it on Astrovault. There's more liquidity over there, but I think it's going to be a perfect example of what's going to happen when this thing flatlines, because this is not an inflationary token. There's no hidden supply. I built it up on Start Cooking, but it'll be really, really indicative of how this all works as soon as the buying stops, as soon as it flatlines and nobody's really buying and nobody's selling. But because we're paired with Osmo right here, we assume the cost of Osmo, or at least a portion of it. So if Osmo bleeds from 83 down to 65 and no action is on this token will bleed. It will bleed along with it because it's paired with it. So with that, it's turning into something really, really interesting over here. Now, what can you do about it? Uh, Man, it's tough. I almost want to say, uh, maybe not invest or play around in so many of these Cosmos tokens. A cash is my deep end projects, man. I'm solid on those because they have external revenue streams. So even though they assume the costs of these things, they're earning enough to at least kind of regulate it a little bit. But for the rest of them over here, man, look, I don't care what your token is. You're going to have to look to Osmo if it's paired with it. You're simply going to have to look to Osmo and kind of figure it out, or what, be able to figure out what it's going to do. This went off the rails a little bit, man. I'm sorry. I wanted to get it all out. We'll talk about it on the live stream. So anyway, questions or comments, scott at thepodcast.com. I answer any and all. And until next time, please stay safe and please be smart with your money. Cheers.